Before a container ship enters Baltimore, this man and machine must move the riverbed, not the water, the ground beneath it. Watch the gloved hand, wet cable, and clamshell beyond the frame. Every lift answers a question no camera can see. Is there still enough depth for the next deep draft vessel? The harbor looks open. Underneath, its floor is moving. Keeping this port open begins by making that hidden movement measurable. Blue marks the surface. The pale line marks promised depth. This is the channel beneath. Where the cable disappears, navigation becomes geometry. Beneath it, the ochre floor is not fixed. It can rise into a vessel's clearance. The difference is measured. Watch the gap. As the distance between those lines narrows, open water becomes a navigational constraint. Baltimore's working channel has a shape. People must keep it open for ships. The sequence begins with people, not steel. An operator settles his hand on the controls. A deckhand reads the water, cable, and hull. Beyond them, DB Avalon fills the channel. Its clamshell travels over the scow and disappears below the surface. It returns draining water, the load visible, its target unseen. Before the cable moved, a hydrographic survey measured the channel floor. Engineers compared that bottom with the authorized depth the channel must provide. The gap became the work. This crane is not searching for mud, it is removing a measured deficit. Now the cycle is legible. Lower, close in silt and clay, hoist, swing, release, reset. The jaws close in fine material. Water drains as the load rises. Success waits for the confirming survey. The operator cannot see the bottom, yet every move must reach a surveyed target. Wind, current, cable length, and vessel position remain real. Each bite is local. The obligation spans the channel. A tug waits because excavation is only one link. The scow carries each load. When the area is finished, surveyors measure the same ground. That second survey tests the result. Is the floor now outside the spaceship's need? This is the governing loop. Measure, remove, verify. Machinery supplies force. Survey tells it where to act and whether it succeeded. The loop returns because the bottom does not stay where last year's dredging left it. To understand why the work returns, begin with the picture on screen. A path cut through fresh snow. Its width and depth are obvious because material has been pushed aside. For a while, the route is usable. But the first clearing is only a moment, not a permanent condition. The open center, the raised banks, and the displaced material define its clearance. Now the path tightens. New material occupies the clearance that was created. The comparison stops there. Snow and river sediment move by different physics. It tells us nothing about currents, chemistry, or survey practice. It preserves one relation only. A deliberately opened passage can fill again until the space that mattered has been lost. At the halfway point, the snowfield gives way to the river section. Keep your eye on the pale horizontal line. That reference does not move. It is the authorized profile. The ochre line below is the bottom found by survey. Between them lies usable depth, the invisible clearance on which the harbor depends. Now the measured floor rises. Ochre deposits enter the channel and the distance closes. This is shoaling, sediment accumulation reducing available depth inside a maintained navigation channel. Dredging is not repeating an old job for appearance. It is restoring a measured geometry that nature and traffic continue to change. Back in the winter footage, every bucket now has an address. It is removing material measured between the actual bottom and the required profile. That is why priorities can change from year to year. A channel is not chosen because the surface looks dramatic. Survey evidence shows where shoaling has taken the most usable depth. Lower, close, hoist, swing, release. The visible rhythm is governed by an invisible line, and each completed cycle moves one small part of the measured floor away from it. Scale can make the operation look blunt. It is anything but. The bucket must enter a hidden target, close in fine material, return without losing the load, and place it inside the receiving scow while wind, current, vessel position, cable length, and a changing bottom remain real. The confirming survey will ask one unforgiving question. Is the promised channel there now? Two people take us inside that system. Kevin Fenyak is a project manager in the navigation branch of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Baltimore District. He explains why the channel is measured before and after the dig. Rob Calero is Curtin Maritime's project manager aboard DB Avalon. He explains how the dredge repeats this work and how its hybrid power system turns part of the downward cycle into help for the upward one. Their authority comes from different sides of the same cable. One defines and verifies the navigation work, the other makes the machine deliver it, bucket after bucket.
My name is Kevin Fenyak, and I've been with the Corps of Engineers Baltimore District for about 5.5 years now. My job title is project manager. I work in the navigation section of operations division. We're doing the maintenance dredging for the annual Baltimore Harbor and Channels project. The importance of this dredging is to keep all of the channels to their authorized project depth. So as time goes on, the channels shoal in and get shallower, and it makes it harder for the boats to navigate in and out of the harbor. So we're essentially just trying to clear out the debris and mud and keep the channels wide open. Processes to get everything kind of where we are today is before any dredging even starts, we have to do hydrographic surveys to see how much material is in the channels that we want to dredge. Once we have an idea of the depth of the material, we can bring the dredge out here and start digging. That dredge loads up scows, which are basically like floating dump trucks. And then we take that material and truck it off to a disposal site like Poplar Island, or in this case, Cox Creek. After the material is offloaded, we come back in and do another survey to kind of gauge the difference from the original survey we did, see how much material we've removed.
My name is Rob Calero. I'm the project manager for Curtin Maritime on the DB Avalon. Today we're dredging as part of the U.S. Army Corps Baltimore maintenance dredging project. This particular project is maintenance. It ensures that the channels stay clear for navigation. It allows vessels to come in, and the ultimate goal is safe navigation through the harbors, shipping channels. The DB Avalon is one of the largest dredges in North America. It's powered by a generator and a generative hybrid system that operates the crane. So with each bucket going down, it's spinning generators and repowering a battery bank. And yeah, it's an efficient dredge.
Rob Calero has described the second loop. The bucket begins high. Lower, gravity pulls the suspended mast down while the hoist controls the fall. Cable pays out. The bucket approaches the bed. Its motion is controlled, and that energy need not be discarded. At the end of the descent, recovery begins. Now the label reads Recover. The amber path shows electrical energy moving from the decelerating hoist into the battery bank instead of losing all that motion as heat. The battery is storage, not a limitless source. Watch that stored energy change direction. The power flow settles. As the bucket reaches the floor, the jaws touch down. Next state waits. Close. The jaws draw together around the ochre material, and the bucket that descended empty becomes a suspended load. That change in mass is why the upward phase matters. Hybrid does not mean engine-free. Now hoist begins. Curtin lists 2 EPA Tier 4 Cummins generators beside the lithium-ion banks. Stored energy joins the generators through the lifting demand, reducing the peak the engines would otherwise carry alone. The loaded bucket completes its rise while battery and generators share the demand. Then the diagram resets: swing, release, return, and another descent. This loop shifts energy. It does not create it. A second correction appears. Avalon was once the size benchmark. Workboat reported that Curtin's larger DB Catalina surpassed it in 2025. The next cycle is already waiting. Summer light returns the diagram to weight and water. This 2026 DVIDS footage shows the same sequence at working scale. Cable runs out, the clamshell vanishes, the crane waits on a force transmitted through steel. Then the bucket breaks the surface, carrying the bottom with it. Mechanical dredging takes discrete bites. Hydraulic and hopper systems move material by suction. Kevin Fenyak makes that distinction in the interview ahead. Here, each closure has a boundary, each lift can be counted, and each release transfers the load from channel to scow. The interviewees described the material in these Patapsco River channels as mainly fine silt and clay. That changes the question. Removing sediment is only the middle of the story. A port cannot keep excavating unless another part of the system has prepared capacity, equipment, permits, and public authority for what comes up. So follow one load, not as waste that vanishes, but as material that remains in custody. The bucket receives it from the riverbed. The scow receives it from the bucket. Tugs and placement infrastructure carry the obligation forward after the crane has finished its most visible work. The ochre mark is one load. Its first state is riverbed, material measured inside the required channel. The clamshell has not touched it yet, so custody remains with the floor. Keep watching that color. The diagram will not let this load disappear between steps. Hold the identity. Now the material enters the bucket phase. The jaws close, custody changes hands, and the same ochre load rises along the white path. It is no longer part of the bottom, but it has not reached a destination. The bucket holds it only long enough to carry it. At the top of the arc, transfer begins. The bucket crosses the scow and opens. In that instant, excavation becomes transport. Wet sediment enters a vessel built for towing and regulated handling. This is a custody diagram, not a map. It tells us who holds the material, not where every barge travels. The final state is the scow, channel to bucket, bucket to scow, scow to a managed destination. Cox Creek is named for this filmed operation. Poplar Island serves other work in Maryland's wider program. Different material and authority can choose another path. Return to the live scow, and the partnership becomes physical. The Army Corps manages the federal navigation work. Maryland Port Administration, the non-federal sponsor, provides the placement system described in these interviews. Curtin Maritime operates the contracted dredge. If one link lacks capacity or timing, the bucket cannot rescue the program by digging faster. That is why the destination belongs in the same sentence as the channel. Survey defines the deficit, dredging removes it. The scow transports it. Placement receives it. A later survey verifies the new floor. The machine is the center of the image, but the system extends far beyond the frame. Listen to the remaining location sound. A loaded bucket does not move like an empty one. Cable tension changes. Water drains. Wet material strikes steel. Those details are evidence of distance, load, and consequence. Now the people responsible for the wider chain take over. Kevin Fenyak returns to explain the annual rotation of channels, the clamshell method, and why placement capacity makes Maryland's partnership essential. After him, Darren Swift, Deputy Director in the Maryland Port Administration's Office of Navigation, Innovation, and Stewardship, follows the material from the Patapsco River to Cox Creek, and then separates beneficial use from innovative reuse. Together, their account turns one bucket cycle into the public system that must receive every load.
So today we're out here with Curtin Maritime on the DB Avalon doing our annual maintenance dredging of the Baltimore Harbor channels. Keeping this port open is vital to the state of Maryland, to the country's economy, and you can really see it every single day. You're out here making an impact. My name is Kevin Fenyak, and I'm a project manager in the navigation branch. So we're out here every year. The channels rotate based on which ones have the most shoaling. In these channels, it's primarily silt and clay. So this is a clamshell dredge, as opposed to a hydraulic or hopper dredge that would suck the material up. We're lowering a crane into the channels and scooping the material out that way. Our primary non-federal partner on this project is the Maryland Port Administration. So as the non-federal sponsor, they're responsible for providing placement sites, which in this case is Cox Creek. We also use Poplar Island on these projects. It's an important partnership because it's a big ask. It's a lot of material, and we need somewhere to put it all. So that partnership is critical to making sure these projects happen on time, keeping the channels safe and navigable.
My name is Darren Swift. I'm the Deputy Director in the Office of Navigation, Innovation, and Stewardship at the Maryland Port Administration. And today we're in the Patapsco River, dredging the approach channels for the Port of Baltimore. Well, obviously one of the largest federal agencies that we collaborate with is U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We're the non-federal sponsor for this project as well as the bay dredging. And I really feel like that's a special relationship that we have with the Corps. We collaborate on a lot of dredging projects and also on our placement sites. Good, reliable contractors, kind of like Curtin here today, doing an excellent job with the dredging project here in the Baltimore Harbor. So when they dredge, a big clamshell will go to the bottom, picks up the sediment, and then they deposit that into a scow. And when that scow is full, then they push that scow over to the offloading pier at Cox Creek. The vast majority of the material that's being dredged today is all fine grain material, so mostly silts and clay. And the material here will go to our Cox Creek dredge material containment facility. In the state of Maryland, we have beneficial use. That would be more like Poplar Island or ecosystem restoration projects where it's in-water placement. Innovative reuse would be upland placement or the use of dredge material in making another product. So think of like bricks, that sustainable solutions. That in turn would make things less expensive for the residents of the state of Maryland, so drastically reduce our maintenance and operationing fees.
After Darren Swift, one ochre mass stands alone. Here is the old mistake, calling everything dredged from a channel waste as if removal decided its future. The evidence supports this. Material is unwanted here, inside the navigation channel. Its next use or destination remains undecided. Hold that single destiny claim. Now the red stroke arrives. It crosses out certainty, not sediment. Removal tells us where material cannot remain. It does not decide every load's future. Suitability, authority, regulation, capacity, cost, and demand must still be tested. Which managed path is responsible for this material? The correction holds across the frame. Now the pathways divide. Green marks restoration. Authorized, suitable material can build island or wetland habitat. Pale marks innovative reuse. Tested sediment may support upland reuse. Darren gives bricks as an example, not a promise. Neither branch is automatic, and neither describes every load. Watch the center, where the open question still remains. The final state adds managed placement or containment when neither is responsible. These are possibilities, not map locations. Maryland plans across 20 years because maintenance keeps producing material. Some restores habitat, some is reused, some must be contained. Every load remains real, destination must be governed as carefully as removal. Beneath the final waterline, the ochre floor falls from the pale reference and the channel regains its promise's shape. The answer is a chain, not one machine. Survey, remove, transport, place, verify, return. The title returns because the obligation returns. The channel will not hold that shape forever. Remember, visible depth, evidence-directed force, one load followed beyond the crane. The channel is hidden, the labor should not be. Now the source credits arrive. Public domain footage is credited to DVIDS, DVIDSHub.net, and the Army Corps' Baltimore District. David Adams filmed the 2026 material.